Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everybody who's on the call. Really quickly, just want to introduce myself. I'm Sarah. I'm part of the HR council for the chamber.
Kevin Atterbury, I'm the chair of the TIDE Council. TIDE is an acronym for Technology, Innovation, Education, Development. Yeah, I had to rehearse that a lot. So yeah, we're group of chamber members, and it's not industry exclusive. We've got multiple MSPs, but we all work together to try to stay on the cutting edge of technology. Whether it's new threats as far as security, new technologies that can help businesses, and we give a lot of presentations. Try to do monthly. Sometimes we'll skip it for strategy and planning sessions. But I said partnering with HR Council for something like this with Chirag. Saisystems is also a member. Along with we're having one upcoming, and get the date again from Nancy, but we're going to have one in I think October and November on bank fraud. We're actually having someone from M&T Bank come down and speak. But yeah, from everything from best practices, security, just technology to help your business. Our meetings are open to everyone, and we'd love for you guys to come check one out.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, guys. My name is Walter Murphy. I represent the HR Council. I welcome you guys to Navigating Artificial Intelligence Revolution in HR. As Kevin and Sarah mentioned, the two councils, HR and TIDE, actually are collaborating to bring this presentation to you guys. We have two very distinguished speakers today. I will introduce them. I'm very excited about this program. I hope you guys will get a lot out of this. First up, we have Mo Cayer, PhD, correct? Mo is a distinguished lecturer and program coordinator for the Masters of Science in Human Resources program at the University of New Haven, with joint appointments in the psychology and management departments. He teaches industrial and organizational psychology courses to MBA and master students. Mo is a member of the American Psychological Association, the Academy of Management, the Society for Human Resources Management, and the Association for Talent Development, where he is on his board. Mo earned his PhD in industrial and organizational psychology from New York University. He has had a very long and distinguished career in applied and industrial organization psychiatrist, as an extensive corporate experience in improving business strategies and organizational and human resources effectiveness. Mo has been the head of organizational development for the Bayer Corporation. He spent 6 years as the best practice and program development leader for GE Capital. He also worked at Macy's as the vice president of leadership and organizational development and executive compensation. He also worked at JCPenney in various human resources management roles over a 10-year period.
We don't have enough time to.
So welcome. Our second speaker is Chirag Modi. He's the senior vice president of Saisystems Technology. Chirag brings over 24 years of experience in technology and technology services. He joined Saisystems International in 2003 as an account executive and quickly excelled to his current leadership role today. Today, he leads the Saisystems Technology division, overseeing profit and loss responsibilities and driving the organization's core competency in applied development and digital transformation, data analytics, intelligent automation, and business process outsourcing. Chirag began his career by finding a startup focusing on creating solutions in animation, gaming, and media industries. Under his leadership, the company grew from 4 employees to 45 in less than 3 years. He also has experience as an IT programmer, developing solutions for engineering consulting firms in procurement, design, and engineering. Chirag earned his Bachelor's of Science in Chemical Engineering from Mobile University and graduated from Tufts School of Business Executive Program at Dartmouth College. Welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. Glad to be here. How's everybody?
Good.
Got enough coffee? Now's the time to do it. So as Walter mentioned, we'll be taking you through this topic on AI and navigating, especially within HR. Wanted to also mention my colleague, Indra Panaswamy, who worked on the base model for this material. So she's referenced here on this page. Her email is there. And you will be receiving copies of this, and it's also being recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, next slide.
Somebody's go ahead.
So what we'll cover, how HR professionals are scrambling to learn about AI, especially as it relates to HR, right? We hear it all the time, AI, AI, AI. And so fortunately, you're in the right place if you've come to hear some of the answers to those questions. And AI is not just content generation, like we hear of when we talk about ChatGPT, but also towards making decisions, analytics, making predictions about who to hire, who to promote, and so on. We want you to become a more educated HR consumer as a result of this, even though you probably won't leave with the ability to do programming. If you need programming, for sure, I'll help you. So in a second, we'll cover what the topics, but our format will be like back in the old day. You won't remember this, but there used to be on NBC. Who were the guys? Huntley Brink.
Huntley and Brink.
Huntley and Brink.
I'm old enough to remember.
So I wanted to mention our legendary rock star, Tom Speak, who has worked with me at the Association for Talent Development for several years and
Long time.
a master at technology himself. Okay, next slide. So content. Industry insights about AI. What is AI fundamentally? Applications of AI in HR will focus a lot on open AI, the generative AI model that ChatGPT represents. We'll talk about some use cases. Use cases are, what purposes do we want to apply towards accomplishing with AI? We'll have something called prompt engineering, how to use prompts. We'll go through some actual examples. We'll show you some samples. We have references for you in the slide deck that you'll be able to access when you do get a copy of the slide. Okay, everyday headlines. Read with me. Gen Z is set to capitalize on AI skills gap as workers want to learn, but businesses aren't teaching them, according to research studies. One study found that 40% of the people in Gen Z, who are Gen Z people? I never remember this either. I gotta look it up. So Gen Z are people who were born either in the late 1990s or in this millennium, right?
30.
Yes.
Yeah, up to 30,
Yeah.
up to 30, you know. So teach a lot of them at the university. And 40% said they'll quit unless their employers create development opportunities, especially to learn and use AI. I don't know if that's true in your own organizations or not. Next. So employers want new grads with AI experience. You tell me if this is true for you. 83% of US business professionals think students should have been prepared to use AI upon entering the workforce. Furthermore, 88% think that colleges and universities, University of New Haven, think that we should be educating our graduates, our students around AI, how to use it. Not just how to cheat on exams and reports, but actually how to use it in a way that adds commercial value. 74% think incoming graduates should already have mastered AI, and more than half of professionals are using AI on tasks such as analyzing data to produce content or communications. And ChatGPT is the most sought out tech skill in the workforce, says Learning Platform, which did a study on this. How does this resonate with you? This jive? Not so much, Sarah?
I mean, we just talked about it this week that I mean, I'm in natural products industry, so I think that some of the responses are very, I don't know, they're not really like as developed as we want to feel. It kind of goes a different direction.
The responses
Like if we type in a question that we like want to answer for like one of our products.
using one of the chat
Yeah, like
GPTs.
using ChatGPT. So like some people in the room think that it's like giving us garbage information and it's not really what we're looking for. And some people like absolutely love it. I think it's like the best thing. So I feel like we're very split as a company right now on it.
Might both be true.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome to our session. Zoomland, how about you? Any reactions to these slides about, what employers are looking for? Don't make me call on you.
He's a professor, he'll do it.
Okay, so we're assuming you buy into this. Next. Yeah. Okay, so you've been using AI for years. Many of you did not know it, right? So Facebook, Amazon, whenever you place an order on Amazon, what happens? Pops what?
Suggestions.
Suggestions, right? So these are predictions based on your history and what other people who've inquired or made a purchase on that item have done in the past. So AI has been around, and the same thing can be said for all of these: Netflix, Instagram, obviously Facebook, and so on.
Correct.
So nothing new in terms of you'll all recognize these as consumers.
So what is artificial intelligence, right? That is a basic fundamental question. It's the process where artificial intelligence is nothing but its vast volume of data that we have collected. And now with the advent of internet and cloud computing, all that data can be fed and trained. And we have programs and technology available to train based on that data to have intelligent outputs, predictions. And that's what artificial intelligence is all about. The one thing I would like to say is, I've been hearing a lot about AI. I've attended a lot of conferences. People often ask, what's AI? Yes, there's a whole technology piece to it, but at the end of the day, AI is us. That's what the best answer I've got so far from everywhere I've attended. It's the humans. We are trying to build intelligence based on how we learn, how we predict, and how we analyze data. We are trying to mimic the same thing on the machine. So on simple terms, that's what AI is. It uses a complex models. There are multiple components which we'll be talking about, but it has multiple layers of technology. One of the biggest one is called the deep learning, which is we are trying to mimic a brain. Brain is made up of neurons, and that's what we are trying to build through algorithms and machine learning. Those are different neural networks that have been built to take data as an input, process it through a series of these neural networks, and have an output out. So that's what artificial intelligence is all about.
Okay, so AI comes in a couple of different flavors. We have traditional AI, and we have this new generative AI. What's the difference? You're just using your walk off the street knowledge about the two. This is not a test.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong.
One makes predictions, one creates content.
Bingo, right? Makes predictions like,
What's the next movie I want to watch?
what's the next movie I want?
Sure.
Who do I want to hire? Who do I want to promote? How much of a raise should people get? Who's a flight risk?
Hmm.
And the other one generates new content or even summarizes all kinds of content, right? And it could be in the form of words, text, images, and so on.
Anybody else? What traditional AI, this like most have, we've been using this on our daily lives as well. Anybody, any examples of what traditional AI is?
Sorry,
Sorry?
Siri or
Siri.
Siri.
Siri?
Yes, Siri is one of them. That's a good one as well, because it is using existing data and it's predicting, like most said, Amazon and all, they're using the data patterns that's already there. It's not creating something new. It is using your existing data or data available on the internet and giving you the answers back. So that's a good example. Anybody else?
Even just like what you showed us first, like how we've already been using AI, like with Amazon, getting our buying habits and this and that with the suggestion. The generative is like what you're prompting it to ask, like what you're asking, like what output you're specifically asking for.
Correct. That's good. Anybody online?
Don't be shy. 32 people online, great. One of the things that we often use in HR is in applicant tracking systems. We have the computer tabulate the keywords that are included in somebody's application or resume, right? You're familiar with that? Exactly, right? And is that really artificial intelligence? Counting the keywords, I mean, if you're looking for somebody with supervisory experience and how many years, right? So at the very simplest level, it barely enters into the artificial intelligence. But a lot of people believe, since we have keyword search on our applicant tracking system, ATS, that we're using artificial intelligence. Well, it's a very weak form of artificial, because you don't even know if those keyword search counts are actually predictive of people's future performance. Okay, so this describes in greater detail the differences between generative and other AI in terms of output types. So generative AI, text, audio, images, videos, and so on. Other AI with classifying, analyzing, making predictions from the input data that we've built our models around. Different training approaches, different goals, examples are included here, and the underlying model. So again, this is included in the slide deck. Next slide.
So going back to traditional versus generative AI, like I said, traditional AI, we all have been using it in one shape or form in the past. It's also called the weak AI. Things like we track data as to how many employees came in, how many, we had attrition on, and we can use those patterns to tell us, okay, in a year, we are expecting 17%, 20% attrition rate. That's some kind of a prediction. That was weak AI. For those people who have been using DOS-based or old Windows-based chess games, traditional AI is nothing but it's predefined programs which has been written, programmed to say, okay, if you move X, I should do Y, the computer should move Y. But those were algorithms which are already predefined in the computer programs in the traditional or the weak AI. Coming to the evolution, like I was saying earlier, we started using that data more effectively, like the Amazon, the Netflix. That's where the evolution of AI happened to much more better AI than the weaker AI, which was already predefined set of data. And today, with generative AI, the difference between the traditional and the generative AI in fundamental is traditional AI is just predefined set of data. Generative creates new content. It creates new information based on the underlying data, the patterns, and the analysis it does. So that's the big difference. Today, we have the capability to put, and this is just an example from Adobe Firefly that I just tried out, saying, show me an HR manager in space with a lot of files. So I just put in a common language and it generated 4 different options for me, which is generative because this did not exist anywhere in the web. It took pieces of information from everywhere and created copyright-free images for me. But that's completely new content. This was not existing before, and that's an example of generative AI. So again, like I said, AI is made up of multiple components. There are different technologies that power AI. This is a little more technical, but the first one, and they're more evolving as new and new people are trying to experiment with AI, but these are the 4 fundamentals. The first one is computer vision. What is computer vision? It enables a machine to understand and interpret visual data, right? So everything so the common tasks are image detection, or object recognition, or facial recognition. And the use that you see this today is in cameras. You see it in autonomous cars. When you have all those sensors in your car, along with the light detection sensing mechanism, they're taking that data and helping autonomous cars to make decisions as to how to drive better. That's computer vision. The next one is machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI. This powers pretty much everything as well. It understands and predicts based on the data that is being fed to it. So it can self-learn. It can be supervised and unsupervised learning to build those machine learnings. And it powers computer vision as well. Is another arm which is very popular and widely used. One of the examples is our intelligent search engines, right? So what natural language processing means is it generates or it understands and generates human language. So when you type a word on a Google or something, it will start looking at the internet and it will give you the search results intelligently. So that's one of the examples. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Deep learning is nothing but it reads and understands and analyzes the patterns of a large amount of made up of neural networks, which is again, neural networks are nothing but it almost mimics our brain, like I said earlier. So a combination of these are being used today to power AI-based solutions.
And so NLP, natural language processing, enabled the creation of large language models.
Yes.
You might have heard that term, large language models, which is the basis of generative AI, right? So once the computer can interpret text, whether it's written text or audio, it created these large language models, which is the revolution that has occurred in the past several years.
Any questions so far?
Yeah, so AI has been around in the HR industry. Some of the key market players, IBM, of course, have made use of AI in various HR applications that they offered. Oracle, SAP. SAP is one of the largest providers, as is Oracle, of enterprise resource planning platforms, software systems that are integrated across multiple disciplines, HR, accounting, supply chain management, customer service and sales, and so on. ERP helps bring all of that together. So major players include Oracle and SAP and Workday. Does anybody have Workday here?
Worked on it.
Workday, you've Workday?
Yeah, well, I worked on it. I worked at a company we staffed for Workday, so
Okay,
I'm familiar with the modules.
they used it for themselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about in Zoomland? Anybody using Workday in Zoomland?
Yes.
Danielle, thank you. Anybody else? Just trying to get a sense of familiarity with some of these technologies. Okay, but how about ADP? Many of you must be using ADP, no? A few, yeah, 3 or 4. How about Zoomland? Making use of ADP?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so ADP,
Yes.
The payroll provider is now expanding into other domains, not just payroll, but applicant tracking systems, learning management systems, and other aspects, because they too want a bigger slice of the pie. Cornerstone is a robust ERP system, which has a lot of human capital management software power in it. One model is a new emerging provider of AI within the HR industry. And then there are a couple of resources here. This link, second from the bottom, top 10 ERP systems that, at least in the eyes of the reviewer, you might want to check that out. And then Capterra does a lot of evaluations of technology. Think of them as the consumer reports. Anybody ever buy a car, check consumer reports? Capterra is the kind of resource that you want to check for technology, especially around AI and HR. Okay.
Want to do a quick poll?
Yeah, so we have some questions. And
You can scan it and then pass it.
so the QR code on the page, because the people in the room are located so far from the screen, we're handing out pages to do a QR code that will enable you to record your answers to these 5 survey questions. And the people in Zoom land, Chirag, should do what?
They should scan, or there's a link there that they can go as well.
Okay, so people in Zoom land, if you could take your mobile device, hopefully you have access to it, and scan the QR code. Or use the link that's featured right below the QR code. This way we can capture and kind of tally about where you are as an audience in terms of adoption of AI within HR. I'll give you a moment to do that. We'll supplement the survey technology with a show of hands for those people who can. So how frequently do you use traditional AI in HR applications such as human resource information systems, HRIS, staffing, applicant tracking systems, training, learning management systems, performance management, PMP, et cetera? How frequently do you, as HR professionals, use these types of traditional AI applications? Question number 2, how frequently do you use generative AI in HR applications such as HRIS, ETS, and so on?
Response to the first, 45%. These are the responses.
Say 45% is, what was the answer for that associated with that 45%? Less frequently.
That's frequently.
Okay. And question number 2, how frequently do you use generative AI? Still, half of the people say less frequently. And then to the extent that your entire organization is transforming itself to being AI driven in all that it does, 62% say somewhat they're piloting some use of AI tools. This is for the entire organization.
We have 12% actively using or undergoing transformation.
Okay. So some people are dipping their toe in the water. But a quarter, nothing planned yet. And then to what extent in your HR organization are you transforming it to being AI driven in all that it does? 56%, over half say not planned, at least yet. And then 44% somewhat doing it. Okay, so clearly there's more room to go on that. And then the last one is what best describes you as an HR business professional in terms of being involved in the HR transformation? A third say spectators or in the bleachers. 36% a participant. That could mean lots of different things. And almost a third say we're a leader. Any reactions to these survey results? Is this what you expected? Yeah.
Yeah.
A broad range of adoption of AI within organizations and HR. How about Zoomland? Any comments about these results? Surprising, not surprising?
I think a
Everybody.
lot of people are trying to still figure it out.
Yes, okay, good. That's a good explanation. So, being in the bleachers, being a spectator, what's happening? I want to better understand it. Hopefully this session will will move the needle on that dial for you as well. Thanks, Leslie.
It seems
Okay.
to me that there's far more participation going on than we may realize when it comes to using, the Indeed.coms of the world and the Zip recruiters and all of that jazz, especially as we ask engines to extrapolate out people that don't come in with a resume that has certain keywords, etc. So I actually think we're participating more than maybe we realize.
Because your outsource providers like LinkedIn and Indeed and ZipRecruiter, we're assuming they're making use of AI within their recruiting, functions.
Right. So if we're the ones feeding it words that we do or do not want to be included, excluded from a resume during a search for a candidate. We're trusting that the work that is happening on the other end is accurate and that we're not actually missing really highly qualified people as a result. So we do participate in that. And I can't help but wonder if the more we learn about how we should be interacting and what we should be careful of will allow us to have better results on the HR side.
Good comments. Thanks, Jen. And as we said before, just keyword search by themselves is a form of AI, but it's a unique form. You don't know if people who meet all of those keyword search criteria, in terms of counts, actually end up being superior performers than those that don't. That would take a validation study. Whether or not LinkedIn does that, you have to ask them. Okay, next. Thank you for that. Does this look familiar to any of you? There's a stack of resumes. Anybody? Yeah, we got some head nodding here. Zoomland, does this look familiar to you? On average, corporate openings attract 250 resumes. How do you manage it? How do you effectively review them all? Well, that's why you rely on applicant tracking systems. But even there, even though you don't have the paper pile in front of you, you have it digitally. And a lot of times you're reviewing them manually, even if you're looking at a shorter list because of a keyword search count criteria having been met. So generative AI enhances HR, replacing all of that stack of paper by automating the boring stuffs, onboarding, designing and conducting onboarding stuff with the help of generative AI, making recruitment easier, managing tasks so that you could easily prioritize, knowledge at your fingertips, no longer having to just do a Google search and get a long list of sites that you have to independently check out. Now this is integrated. It boosts communication, compliance tracking, and provides real-time feedback to how well you're doing on these tasks. So a survey was done by SHRM, national SHRM, earlier this year, and they tabulated based on over 2,000 respondents in the SHRM survey, the prevalence of AI use in various HR and talent management lifecycle processes. So beginning, recruiting and interviewing and or hiring, 64% of the respondents said, yeah, they're applying AI to that. No surprise there, right? What is getting less prevalence is learning and development by 43, meaning developing personalized training and development plans for people, making it easy for them to sign up and take part in learning experiences. Performance management. To what extent are you making use of AI technology in improving your performance management processes, goal setting, feedback, appraisal, things like that? Productivity monitoring. This is a controversial topic. 10% of the people say they're making use of AI in productivity monitoring. You know, anybody here making use of that? Anybody not want to admit it?
Jen has her hand up.
Jen, what's your comment on that? Or was that from before? Okay.
I have my hand up. I don't think I have my hand up.
Okay.
But I will say this, we use ChatGPT all the time to help us jumpstart our brains when they're not doing very well staring at the blank screen. I think that the danger can come in if we stop thinking and we use our brains more passively and less actively. So it still seems like there's a lot of practice that needs to happen to use the tool really effectively.
Yes, so that the good news is the tool is available in case you haven't had your coffee yet. You know, you want to jumpstart your brain by using ChatGPT. The downside, possible downside, is it creates less brain cells that are actually cranking through your questions because you're relying on someone else, the computer, to assemble the right answers, right? So we get the benefit, but there's also a potential downside. And then succession planning, layoffs, and so on, a lot fewer occurrences. So this tells us the front end of the HR lifecycle is being used by 2/3 of HR people, but other parts of the lifecycle, not so much. Represents lots of opportunities to improve. Thank you. So using AI as a competitive HR tool, the people in the separate surveys done by Paycheck is tracking applicants, which we saw, but also assessing employee satisfaction. Anybody using AI to assess employee satisfaction, find out how satisfied people are in the workplace, how engaged? Yeah, we have one taker here. Identifying potential candidates. This is a really untapped resource for AI, meaning organizations are missing being able to use AI technology to find out who is worthy of promotion. Not just because somebody is well liked by their boss, but actually because they meet certain criteria. They have productivity, they have the potential to succeed in a position of higher responsibility. All of that is wide open for improvement. Resume scoring, of course, is used in applicant tracking and conducting interviews. AI. Anybody use AI to actually conduct interviews? I don't mean generate questions that are then asked by humans, but actually conducting. More and more of this. I was at a conference where Amazon was showcasing their AI-driven chatbot, which is all technology-driven. Questions that are asked, applicants give answers, the computer determines the next question based on the answer. It can handle different accents, all for jobs in at Amazon, well, Amazon Web Services, as well as fulfillment centers.
I'll be really mad for robots telling me I didn't get the job.
The company would rather rely on the robot than a person. Thank you. Right, yeah. So we have plenty of resources here. We're not going to go through this here, but here's SHRM has plenty of resources. We have put these at the back end of our presentation. So this is just a placeholder for me to remind you that there are plenty of resources at the end of the presentation. Okay, some key impacts of generative AI, providing self-service and open access information. We'll see a demonstration in a moment from Chirag on using generative AI to allow employees to service their information needs, whether it's about benefits or personal time off. And I'm sure in the future, paid sick leave here in Connecticut and all that stuff that will be incorporated in the technology. And those are examples over there, tech-enabled, more personalized and productive hire to retire processes. Again, baking it into that HR lifecycle. Next. So here's the HR lifecycle here, at least according to a study that was done by Boston Consulting Group recently. And so from HR strategy, workforce planning, and so on, to recruiting and sourcing, HR administration, compensation, benefits, learning and development, performance management, employee engagement, employee relations. So here is how they found uses of Gen AI across this horizontal slice. These topics look familiar to you as HR professionals, right? Even though you may not have used the same terminology. They have found and estimated that using Gen AI made productivity improvements in this red zone here. 10 to 20% in terms of an improvement of time reduction in HR planning and strategy, recruiting 10 to 20%. HR administration, as we might expect, 10 to 30, 20 to 30% improvements in productivity there, and so on across the line. So total improvements by using Gen AI in lots of these HR lifecycle processes is what can occur according to Boston Consulting Group. So some examples, further examples, productivity. 9-day improvement in developing course materials versus 6 weeks. Right, just relying on Gen AI to create a course. Yesterday with my students, we were talking about a recent short documentary on the Today Show about the shortage of air traffic controllers in this country. High stakes, high risks. They need 3,000 people, and they were talking about the kinds of knowledge, skills, abilities, other qualifications that they were looking for. And we listened to what they were saying, and then we tried using ChatGPT, Generative AI DALL-E, which is especially good at creating video, to create a recruiting video for us. It would have taken, we didn't finish it because it needs further refinement, but we got a really good, solid basis just yesterday in class. And it would have, if we had created a recruiting video, it would cost tens of thousands of dollars instead of very little money yesterday. Wow. Okay, and then there are other enhancements, as you can see there. So even in something like technology, AI application development, coding, tedious coding, oh my God. I took Fortran centuries ago.
Speaking of old.
A lot of gray hair here. So getting labeled data, just think, where we supervised learning includes labeling data where we have inputs and we have dependent variables. Think of it like an Excel spreadsheet. It's all organized, it's labeled. We want to see what variables will predict some outcome variable. So even as simple as that is, it took 1 month, 3 months, and then 8 months before we actually had a model. So 7 months overall. Today, with prompt-based, meaning generative AI, it takes 3 months to have a useful model, a real quickening of the application. Thank you.
Again, these are just different generative AI tools that are prevalent. To build large language models takes a lot of compute, takes a lot of data. You need some high-end scientists and data scientists and everybody working together. We are not building LLMs here, but there are tools that are already invested. They're already built. They've been constantly training, trying to secure them. And these are just a list of some of the tools. Again, this is a reference for you to go back and look at, like Gemini. They have their own, this is an offering like ChatGPT that does conversational AI assistant. It's good at that. Then again, ChatGPT is there again. Most of them are very, very good in conversational AI, but the custom GPTs, you can use it for image recognition. Some of them are very good at, those image recognitions and understanding the image patterns. Some of them are really good for voice to text. So depending on where the use is, you can use one of these AI tools to advance your use case or an objective that you want to achieve. So again, we just wanted to put this as a reference that there are established tools which are known in the marketplace. They're widely used, and they're constantly investing in making their LLMs better and more stronger as well.
It's not just ChatGPT.
It's not just ChatGPT.
And there are more as well. Okay, so now we're going to transition to looking at ChatGPT specifically.
It's Gemini.
Sorry,
It's Gemini. It worked well.
you use Gemini, yeah.
Yeah.
Copilot is another one,
I haven't.
Perplexity.
I've only played with the Gemini
DALL-E.
briefly. Yeah.
other models.
There are
Yeah.
I mean, then they get used to it and then try a couple of the others. And it's not generative, it's much more like ChatGPT. I used it to do a reverse lookup. I knew the definition of something. I wanted to know what the word was. That's hard to do with a search, but it worked.
Cool.
Yeah.
It has been interesting looking at the differences between them, like kind of the strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
I know it's ChatGPT has been much more creative than some of the other ones, like I was directly comparing it with Gemini. And
Mhm.
you tell Gemini to tell you a story versus ChatGPT was much more like imaginative, and that's like,
Yeah.
this is like a book that someone would write.
Right.
So, but it gave you back text. Did it give you back any graphics?
Oh, no, just text,
Any
but it was much more, like, it was actually like if someone was telling you a story,
Mhm.
which Gemini wasn't really that well, but when it came to data, like ask it for data, ChatGPT just returned it in kind of random order.
Yeah.
When we asked Gemini to order the data by year, realizing it already did, even though we didn't ask it to,
Okay,
for information.
it assumed you wanted
Data,
to.
it was, it was organizing things much more like you would like an Excel spreadsheet, it was more organized. For ChatGPT wasn't as organized with the data, but definitely more creative.
Great,
It's almost like Gemini gives you the documentary.
Yeah.
ChatGPT gives you the action movie, right? Like that's an easy way to, that's how, but yeah, totally.
And that shows, right, because Gemini was relaunched, it had errors before the first time they launched, and they made a relaunch. That's why they're still, like I said, with all the technologies that we saw, the AI, the natural language, the computer vision, they're all refining that. So ChatGPT, which is powered by OpenAI, and all the GPTs behind is much more ahead and refined. So they're trying to get more emotional, trying to capture sentiments better. So it's able to get you better results in that scenario. Yeah.
You want to?
Take this one out.
Okay, so we now have lots of examples of technologies and how long it took each of those technologies to get 1 million users, right? So Twitter, back in the day when there was this little bird called Twitter, right? A tweet, right? It took 2 years for them to get 1 million users. Facebook, it took 10 months for Facebook to get 1 million users. Instagram, owned by Facebook, 2.5 months to get 1 million users. ChatGPT, 5 days in the fall of 2022. Explosive.
So this is, all these trends are showing that how AI is surpassing or coming up to the level of human performance. Like we have been saying that we have been using AI in some shape or form in the past as well. But there was just not enough compute. For example, handwriting recognition, OCR technology, we have all heard it since the past lives, and it took so much time. It probably has taken 3 or 4 decades for us to come to the level where handwriting could be recognized from a document, and it gives you the accuracy that a human will provide you as well.
But I happened to see some handwriting of Chirag yesterday on his device. And I gotta believe it needs a lot of assistance.
Yeah. You definitely need a human in the loop. But what has happened is, since 2006, or the advent of the cloud and the available computing, I was talking with Kevin about, the GPUs coming into play as well. To train these models, you need a lot of data. You need the talent base, you need the computing power, you need the resources to make this all happen. So since the 2006, 2012, there's been a sudden surge. Resources have become available. With the cloud, you can scale up your compute and everything. You have more and more people paying attention, the new talent, the new students who are researching more on building these neural networks and everything, which has led to fast forwarding or accelerating the AI usage in our day-to-day. So if you look at it, handwriting recognition took, like I said, more than 3 or 4 decades to get to a human level performance. But in today's time, our kids, if you go to ChatGPT or any other AI model, they can do a math test right away, as a human or a kid would do as well. So you can see it's been a steep learning from the time when AI was implemented to meet up to a human performance. So all this is saying that yes, AI is here to stay. It's just more and more refinement, and the goal is to get as close to what a human can do as well in terms of intelligence.
Okay, so further description, ChatGPT. It's a web-based artificial intelligence chatbot. Uses machine learning to generate human-like text and code, and OpenAI released it in November 22. Can do things like answer questions, solve math problems, translate between languages, fix and debug and fix code, programming code, write stories or poems. But beware. I asked ChatGPT a couple of months ago to write me a limerick for to celebrate the anniversary of my son and daughter-in-law, their wedding anniversary. So everybody's familiar with a limerick?
Yep.
There once was a man, blah, 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 blah. And it came back, and my daughter-in-law's name is Nomi, and it inserted the word gloomy. So that's not an effective anniversary limerick that you want to give your daughter-in-law. So it required human intervention. And that's one of the issues, right? We get so enamored with ChatGPT that we might automatically.
If I may, an example of that, of the weakness, I actually managed to get a screenshot of it. Stephen Colbert said something about a recipe that had jalapeno peppers. It's apparently translating English. This was and it came out hollow piano peppers because it didn't shift languages.
Yeah.
There's still a weakness in that when it's trying to translate English. Jalapeno isn't, and then we mix an awful lot of foreign words in,
Yeah.
so you be careful with that.
Yeah.
Right. But also, the way I use it is like, I'll write email and then say, well, what about this? Like, I'll read it, rewrite it, kind of almost have a conversation with it.
Yes.
To get it to where I would like it, refining it where it's still my thoughts,
Yes.
my way of thinking. And, the first time it won't come out right, but as it's going, it's starting to.
So you're not gonna hit send the first.
No,
time, right?
no. If you use it the lazy way and just say, oh, can you write this? And then just like, okay, I'm just gonna pass it, that you're gonna get in big trouble.
Yes, I think a big, it's Grammarly. Does anyone use Grammarly?
Mhm.
There you go, like that, I think that's a great explanation of what you said, because if you put. I know I love it because I write like I talk, and that doesn't usually get the point across the way I want it in an email. But it takes my words and then it articulates them in a better format, but it's still my words, it's my thoughts, it's just rearranging or changing little words. But to your point, if you just hit it send on the first go,
No.
it's not what I wanted. But again, you're having like that back and forth with it to get it to where you want it to be, but it's still your words.
No, exactly, because I have a learning disability where I could talk and communicate, but when I put my thoughts onto paper. And then I reread it, sometimes it appears right to me, but it's not. But going through the ChatGPT with this has really helped me craft emails and my thoughts in the right proper manner.
And even that is a wonderful benefit, even if it's not perfect.
It's not
It's
perfect,
progress, and it's a great benefit.
yeah,
And that's an example of supervised learning. You're training the model, you're.
A human
supervising-
intervention.
Yes. You're training that model to say, become more and more like you, like, this is not what I want, this is where so it's learning from the inputs that you're giving, and it's refining itself. And it will come to a point where you will say, yeah, this is satisfactory to what I want, and then the next time you do something like that, it will probably pick from that point
right,
and give you the answers better.
better and faster. But right now it's
It's
just
already
like-
fast, but
yeah.
yes.
But faster, no, exactly, okay.
2 nanoseconds.
So, and that's where we are.
I have no patience now.
That's where we are at the moment, right? There's a lot of, and we'll come to that, but AI, and we were just talking about this yesterday, that is it artificial intelligence or is it assistive intelligence? We are still in that phase where it is assistive because all these models, they're still learning. The more they get trained, the more the data becomes solvable. It's similar to like, again, it's mimicking us. Whatever data I have seen in my lifetime is what I'll make my decisions on. If I haven't encountered a scenario, I might make a mistake. But I learn from that mistake, and if I've made a wrong call, I'll learn from that, and the next time something like that comes, I'll make better prediction or I'll make a better decision as well.
Right,
So it actually is mimicking how humans learn as well. So anyways,
So
sorry.
some concerns have been raised about ChatGPT, like it enables plagiarism, misinformation, like we were talking about. Displacing human intelligence and bias, because the fundamental of machine learning is based on using existing data. And we have a biased society. I don't just mean racial bias, but all types of biases, people's credit worthiness, whatever. And it sweeps into those biases and it perpetuates it. It continues. So that's one of the disadvantages. Okay.
I remember this HP when they were first releasing these webcams like facial recognition. And they launched it and then realized it was having trouble recognizing anyone with dark skin and women. Because everyone that developed it was basically a white.
Oh, I
man.
do.
Ready for prime time.
Yeah.
I was in security during that time. I remember.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So these are some of the use cases that we would want to talk about. We talked about ATS and talent acquisition. Resume screening is the biggest one of them, where we are using GPT, which powers ChatGPT and everything, to analyze resumes based on certain prompts or the parameters that we pass to the model. And then we give them two different inputs. One is the job description and the other one is the different resumes. And based on those two, we'll say there are 6 or 7 parameters that we say that evaluate this resume against this job description on these 6 parameters, which is the job skill, the rates, the geographic location, the certification and the education, and give us back. So again, one of the ways as we are building these unbiased AI models and everything, the things that we are paying attention to is what are the things that if we pass on will instill bias in the model as well. So we have been very cognizant when we are building these kind of models to make sure that we are not putting parameters which will lead to some kind of a bias. So that's one of the use case that we have done. We are using chatbots. We all use chatbots as well these days. If you go on any site, most of them have it. But we are using chatbots to further assist. Because a lot of times you'll have candidates asking the same question, like, okay, what's the next step? I already did my first round. Or, once I do this, what are your benefit policies? So all those are handled by chatbots versus putting load on our HR or our talent acquisition team so that their time is freed up and the candidates are getting pretty much real-time response, enhancing their experience as well. That, hey, I sent an email, I didn't get a response for 24 hours versus interacting with the chatbot, they're getting all the basic information and any process that they have to follow in the screening as well. We are using the chatbots for our HR operations as well. We are a global company, so we have HR teams in every location. And most of the times, employees will ask questions, especially new employees who are starting with us. They'll say, okay, what is my PTO policy? Even the employees who have been with us for a lot of time, they don't know, like, okay, I crossed 25 years of service, which we'll see in an example. Like, what's my PTO policy? What are these taxes? Why am I getting these deductions in my salary slip? So all that has been enabled by using or taking help from AI and the chatbots and presenting it to our teams or to our employees so that making it a better experience for them. At the same time, reducing the efforts for our HR team, who's already spread thin across an employee base of 650 people. So with that said, this is one of the use cases which I cited about ATS. So the way we are doing it is, yes, there is an ATS platform where the job descriptions are published and the candidates are responding. Like Mo said, on an average, you're getting about 200, 250 applicants. You want to make sure that the best ones come up. So we are using GPT-4 to parse those parameters, especially the job title, location, skills, experience, education, and certificates. And it is giving us a scoring back to say, oh, it's a match at the job title, it's a match at the location. At this point, we are still keeping a human in the loop because you might say that, oh, his experience is a little less, but I still want to talk to the candidate. And based on that scoring, we will give the hiring manager an output saying that this is the score. And then by using chatbots, we are enabling a communication between the hiring manager and the candidate to set up interviews using Zoom or something else so that they can schedule. Again, all these manual tasks we are trying to automate and use the AI to make it like a seamless experience. At the end of it, like Mo was saying, there are interactive interviews that can happen by using the chatbots to interview the candidates and score them further. And at the end, there's again, we always want a human intervention or a human in the loop. In the end, there's definitely a face-to-face or a video call interview between the manager or the team leader and the candidate as well, just to make sure that all the data correlates. So that's one of the examples we are using. This is the HR virtual assistant that we are using for our company. This is a video, there's no audio. It's very small. Like I was saying, we have our employee handbooks published in different locations. Lot of time was spent by HR, but like I said, addressing the same questions over and over again in different months. And these are not like analytical questions, these are just know-how or informational questions. So we created this virtual assistant. So any employee, in this case, an employee is asking that I have completed 25 years of service. What's my PTO allowance? And rather than going to an HR and email, typing that up, and then maybe at the end of the day or next day, or even within the hour, the HR might reply back because they'll have to go to ADP and check, oh yes, this is the thing. It's responding, the AI model is already going into ADP using automation, getting that data and saying, yes, you have completed 25 years and this is your PTO policy. At the same time, another employee from across the world is asking like, what's professional taxes? So again, through the knowledge that already been fed in the model, it's giving the response that professional taxes is tax deduction at sources. That's applicable in India. So it's giving that. The employee is further refining that question, saying that, give me in a structured format, don't just give me a blurb, give me in a structured format, like what are those deductions? So if you see, it breaks it down, the same text, it is breaking it down furthermore in bullet points and saying exactly what those professional taxes are. So again, we can all do it, but this is a manual redundant task. There is not high value to this, and we might be doing this repetitively across all our employee base. But by using virtual assistant with the help of AI, these kind of efforts can be reduced, saving time to do more analytical, more progressive work with our employees or coming up with new policies, understanding new regulations and compliance. So it's just moving efforts from where it is not required or more manual and repetitive to doing more beneficial or meaningful task going forward. Any questions?
Is this an attractive feature? Would you like to have that in your system?
It's a lot of time saved.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the average time to train these models for a company's use?
So this is within our, this is the information base that we have. So it's privately owned. We have subscribed to our private. So.
That's just a check box.
So for this one, it took us less than 2 months to get this trained. Now you record this one. Like we said, the whole idea, it's not just about doing some cool stuff with AI. It's looking into our processes and seeing, okay, where can this really help me? Where can this really save my time? Where can I become more meaningful and I can advance myself as well in doing those meaningful tasks? And that's where the use of AI really comes handy.
Yeah, so it increases productivity, as we've been saying all along. Here's an example of a research study. Increase in productivity on just writing, as the example was made before, and the quality of the work has been improved by 20%. Improving quality by 20% is a big accomplishment in the domain of workplace interventions. 20% improvement in productivity. This country goes along. We are excited. We do cartwheels if we have a 2% improvement in productivity in 1 year. Here, big time. Okay.
So we just got a question.
Yeah.
When I was showing the demo, that are you risking sharing your data with ChatGPT? Does it become public? So if you're using ChatGPT, that's an open source, right? So you are sharing, but we have subscribed. We have a private subscription. So when you do a private subscription with GPT, that data does not go out. That stays within the organization.
It's a closed.
It's a closed.
system to be compliant.
Yes, and all these LLMs, especially OpenAI, over the last few years, they have started paying more attention on security as well. So the data that you are passing as well is all encrypted, but yes, it's still available to them because they are training their models, the patterns. But when you take a private, it does not get shared out.
So with an open system, a private system, should you worry about putting somebody's social security?
I would still be careful about sensitive data, because again, multiple things, you still want to be secure. Second thing is you don't, like I said, you don't want to start passing some parameters which will create bias within the model as well.
Okay, so all of this relies on what's prompt engineering, meaning your questions, your declarations, your commands. So there are prompt engineers, that job can pay up to $375,000 a year, at least as of a year ago, but that's dropping because now the ChatGPT is getting better at prompting.
Oh, yeah, so again, prompts are the inputs that we are giving to a model. So some of the good practices to follow while doing prompts is we call something as garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you give confusing, if I ask a very vague question to even any one of you, I'll get vague answers. So be clear on what you want. It takes iterations to get that, but try to be as clear, use as few words as possible because it's interpreting, like you said, jalapeno, you mentioned jalapeno, and it went to say jalapeno or jalapeno pepper. So again, the more precise you can be with your prompts, and that's why prompt engineering has become such a skill, because they have engineered the way to ask the right questions or to craft those questions or those prompts to pass to those models to get the right answers. If you have examples as you're defining, you can give examples like, hey, can you make it more human, like a human sounding it, versus when you were doing the limerick, if you could have given an example to that, say, this is the example I want you to build, maybe it could have given you better results. Don't get too complex. Don't loop in too many things into one prompt, because that will just confuse the model if it's not trained. So again, just some best practices on prompts. It's as simple as if I want something, I'll just be clear in what I want from that model to come, and you get the right answers as well. You want to add anything?
Well, a question to you. Do you recommend, even though you want to err on the side of brevity, but you also, I think you want to say, here's the context, here's the situation,
Yes.
right? I want to create an onboarding program for software engineers in my company, which is located, blah, blah, blah. A little context.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
framing it.
It's a framing it. And everybody has different processes, even if you're saying that, okay, give me an outline of building an onboarding process. Onboarding process in our company might be different than onboarding in Karen's company. To your company, it might be different. So you can always say that, hey, also include, 3 levels of interview versus just 1 level of interview.
And it can't be more than a day.
Correct. You had a question.
Bush,
I know, she said.
Jen.
That the attorney in the room is waving a flag on the privacy and everything. So, yeah, we'll come to that as well. There's a question, from Jen, saying the attorney in the room is waving risk flags over here. Law. Use the tool mindfully, read the actually use and disclosure term for the tool you use, ask questions, and ultimately ask yourself, would I be okay with my information going in an open system? Knowing your risk tolerance and planning accordingly is a great way to use AI or any of the systems to work. Yeah, exactly.
Great advice.
Yes, that's a good one. Like I said, I'll be still careful, even though I know it's private. We are very, very careful in saying, okay, is this an information we really want to pass to the model? Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so prompts are essential to doing generative AI, including with ChatGPT. And we don't have to make them up ourselves entirely, although in most cases we do, but there's resources out there. For example, Full Stack HR has prompts for the HR use cases. many of the HR use cases, meaning pre-written, pre-established prompts that we could use, tailor to our specific situation. So that's a resource. We're not gonna click there, but we've
Taken subset.
pulled some prompts from that full stack HR and created them here. So you might use prompts for recruiting, ChatGPT. You would tell the ChatGPT, you are a recruitment GPT. Please act as a recruitment expert, and you possess the essential skills a great recruiter has, including technical and interpersonal skills and strategies for success in the recruitment processes. If you have any questions about my prompts, or if unclear, please ask me further questions and be mindful of giving unbiased answers and suggestions. So you could literally paste this into a ChatGPT application. And then, so develop clear job descriptions and requirements, including responsibilities, qualifications, skills for whatever role. You insert the role, an HR assistant, a data engineer, et cetera, at such and such company. Include criteria. Make it specific. Is there anything else you need to be able to do? So you could copy this, paste it, fill in those variables that are not provided here, but that are indicated placeholders. And then you could get examples.
Yeah. This is another one. Can you assist us in creating a comprehensive onboarding process that allows new hires to acclimate to our organization quickly and improve employee retention? Do you need anything from me to create a good one? So we just took a screenshot of ChatGPT. We wanted to run it live, but we wanted to make sure.
Too many technical,
Yeah. So that was the prompt that was given, and you can see all the response that it gave that. You need company culture and values, role-specific information, current onboarding experience, feedback from existing employees, tools and resources, performance. And once I have this information, I can tailor it further. So it's responding to me and saying, I need all this information to help you build this out as well.
Has anybody done anything like that?
Well, I am not in HR, but I do use ChatGPT to kind of round out some of my educational material. And one of the things that I find that's pretty interesting about these programs is that obviously it's trained on what I put into it. I'm looking for very specific responses. But at the very end, it says, have you considered X, Y, and Z? And sometimes it'll say, oh, wow, I knew that, but just I forgot it in this particular case. So it makes a nice little reminder.
Useful
prompt.
reminders.
Right, that kind of rounds out everything a little bit more complete.
Okay, thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
Anybody else in Zoom land, any other comments about that example of using that prompt to come up with the onboarding design? Zoom land, are you with us? Leslie, thanks for shaking your head. Okay, so there are other prompts here. We're not going to go through them, but we're just
We got a
gonna.
question here.
Can I ask you a question, Mo?
Walter.
I used to use it quite often. Before you prompt, I don't know what the terminology is, but on the top, you can do different versions and tells you, asks you. What is the difference? What is that? What's the purpose of that on the prompt? And
Can you give an example?
They're saying like after you,
4.0, there's.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Sorry? Yeah.
There's like ChatGPT 4.0, then
Yes.
there's like.
Oh,
other
yes,
versions,
okay.
yeah.
yeah, those, I don't know what the correct terminology is.
So there are different versions of ChatGPT, right? There was the initial version, 3.0,
3.5. Yeah.
3.5 that came out in the end of
So
There's like 3 or 4 of them now.
So ChatGPT 3 or 3.5, it was only a limited data set. I think it was till 2018 or
That's a
2022
difference.
that was available, and it was more like a test bed for all of us to play around and get familiar with it. With the latest model, they have enhanced that. It's become more open, more data is up. It's,
Yeah.
so that's the different version.
Oh, that's
4.0.
Yeah, and I think they're also starting to go into different data sets, like,
Yes.
like one is very much business oriented, while the other one's
Correct.
kind of more creative.
So ChatGPT again is open, but there are subscribed that you can buy, which is
Okay.
GPT-4.
There's legal cheap. GPT.
Da Vinci, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Melissa.
There's a hands up, Melissa, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm a camera ready this morning. I don't actually work in HR, but this, as the people from the Tide Council know, I'm a skeptic when it comes to this. I think it's going to take over the world. But my question is, so when I look at this as from an outsider's, I say, isn't this what an HR person should do? It should know. And so then I think, well, if AI can answer this question, then why does management need an HR professional? That's what that makes. What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, so, again, we still need human intervention, number one, to guide things. And HR professionals are gonna be needed because even though the lower skilled, more routine tasks are going to be taken over increasingly over time as you guys become engaged participants and come off the bleachers. And over the course of time, you will be doing more value-added work. Instead of just spending a half a day to design an onboarding system, you will actually be participating and leading the onboarding session. You'll have more time to do that.
Well, I can give maybe a real live example. I just bought a new Samsung smart TV. I didn't have a Samsung account. You can create a Samsung account that then helps you with it and so on. I had problems creating it. I went on to their chat. And to their credit, my question was, I won't get into it now, was pretty complex. The chat said, I'm sorry, that's beyond what I can do. I will turn you over to a human. And then I got the human.
Wow.
And they eventually solved it, but the chat recognized that it was too complex. That can still happen. You
Yeah.
still need a human backup for those one-off things that nobody anticipated happening.
I'd like to add to that too, because in our world, that's the big concern. Is this gonna take my job? Why would I want this to take over my job? And when I stopped and thought about that for a while, what I came up with is like, think about when you first started in your career or in that job. You have all these creative ideas that you would love to impact and share and do all these things, right? But as your job goes on, that gets faded away because all these manual tasks are taking up all your time, right? So subconsciously, we forget about our creativity and what we can really bring to an organization because we're so enamored with this stuff every day. So I think that's something that, like, if you pull back from it and see that, no, this isn't really taking over. This is just allowing me to do what I can do instead of all the things that policies or procedures or laws are taking up my time with. And I think if we can all subconsciously get there, like think about how much better all of us would be in all of our environments if we had the ability to use our creativity more than just our manual tasks that are doing every day. So I think that's just, if we start looking at it the opposite way, we can really use it to our advantage.
I would say just even that one slide that you showed, the productivity gains and
Yes.
the value.
Yeah.
How much time we spend. So I think of AI as a great assistant to
Mhm.
whatever you're doing, like exactly what you said. Look, we just have to get embracing it rather than fearing it and trying to learn it will kind of help us
Right.
get to that other level.
Yeah, it's just shaping the landscape and changing the landscape of how human resources is going and what they're doing, like in terms of, changing. You still need culture, you still need interaction, employee engagement. There's just so much to it. I forgot what company it was. It was an automobile company where they laid off tons of workers because of AI and the machines and everything, but then they realized no one was there to work to utilize the machines. It backfires. So AI is just a way of just really embracing the changes and being able to change with the landscape.
It's not replacing people, it's just shifting the way people are doing things.
And creating more
And
opportunities.
creating more opportunity, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
I would just say one thing, and good inputs, everybody, that's with any technology, it's always been, and we were talking about this yesterday as well, that with any technology, there's always that fear, like, oh, it's going to take over. But it's the application, like, how are we applying that technology on a day-to-day? At the end of the day, we are creating those technologies. With the good comes the bad, but at the end of the day, it all comes to like, how are we applying to enhance ourselves? One of the examples I was sharing with Mo yesterday is when the computers came, people said, oh, no, this is going to take away the world, all the jobs. They're going to do everything by themselves. But look at IT industry today, it has created so many different jobs. It's created probably more jobs than it was anticipated, oh, with the typewriter or the teletyper going away, that, people are going to lose jobs now. The second thing is, what is the current trend in the resources are already scarce in certain areas like healthcare and others. So these are the tools that will help us enhance or supplement people who are already working long hours and are probably buried down with, the keeping up with stuff and processes and compliance and everything else that's been stacked upon it. So with any technology, you really need to know how you're going to apply it. And the second thing is with AI, I think the human is always going to be in the loop no matter what.
Can I add one thing to that? My mind's just working so
Yeah,
fast, but, I went down, I was, at Chick-fil-A, I think it's down in Virginia or one of the states. There's about 30 workers there. Like, you look at like McDonald's where you have the machines, you go in, you punch in, there's only a few workers. The Chick-fil-A was so packed, but yet, when I was there, I ordered, the food was at the table as I was walking there because of the way the flow was with their machines, their AI, they're using all the right technology.
They've made a lot of progress in that order.
And Chick-fil-A is really thriving because of that and hiring more people to run and they're taking off because they're adapting to the right technology.
Right. That's a great example.
So some of you may not have been of working age then, but 25 years ago, the introduction of the World Wide Web.
I remember the news report, and then he was like, oh, this isn't gonna take over. I was young, but yeah, I remember they were
But
like.
then I was at GE and people were saying, because Jack Welch was pushing e-commerce, everybody's saying, no more salespeople, gone. We're gonna save billions of dollars because we won't have any more salespeople. Well, what happened? Yes, we've had e-commerce and we still have salespeople.
More
And
probably.
customer success on top of it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So these are just different examples.
So training,
Sorry.
onboard, no, go ahead. I'm just describing these areas, right? Where the prompts, again, we just provided these as examples, not to actually take the time out to go into ChatGPT. So formal learning strategy, personalizing people's training recommendations. Comp and benefits, right? That's one of the least, that's one of the areas that's least prevalent with AI in most organizations, but yet there's all this robust AI technology to help with compensation and benefits, planning and administration. Our benefits friends, right? Walter, right? New features, we talked different models of ChatGPT-4. Rob, do you want to just add some commentary on this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just an enhanced version of 3.5, which was available. You have a longer prompt message that you can send. Previously, GPT 3.5, if you were just a free user or a freemium user, it will just time you out and they'll say, okay, your tokens are reset. You have to wait 24 hours before you can process it, or it will stall. Sometimes you'll have login problems. All that has gone away from GPT-4. So again, like I said, it is bigger data set, more enhanced features. They didn't expect that this is going to take off so much. So they were also facing infrastructure issues because a lot of times, I don't know, when people were using GPT 3.5, I would get stalled that no, it's not working. because they didn't expect so many users to start working on GPT so much. And like I said, it takes so much of compute. But now with 4, you don't experience that because they have sized it up as well. So all those features are become available. Sorry.
Yes. So Jen, do you want to get on the horn and orally describe your chat entry?
Oh, sure. I was just saying that HR gets to go back to its original role from way back in the day, taking care of employees and culture. So when you can use AI, I wrote here, AI brings a great opportunity to develop your organization into a great place to work and ultimately retain your employees. So we're moving into a different space when it comes to recruitment and retention. We actually are trying to do both of those things now. We are fortunately, at least for the moment, not in a stage of cutting roles and doing more with less and stacking role after role after role on top of a small workforce. So I think HR has a moment to really shine, quite frankly. And the use of these tools just takes us out from behind the desk and behind the computer screen and back in front of people. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, remember that image of the guy with the stack of 250 resumes? Would you rather be that person or somebody doing, fulfilling the mission that Jen had just talked about? Employee relations, culture, and so on. So there are cheat sheets available. Can't read this. This is an eye chart here. Cheat sheet, but you'll get it in your PowerPoint deck. But it includes things like how to write a prompt, the tone of the words, different use cases or applications that you might use ChatGPT. Best practices and best practices around data security and privacy. So this is, there are numerous cheat sheets out there. This is just one example that is provided. And Carol is saying she would love more time with people and less at my desk. Amen.
That's a good one.
So we saw a version of this chart before, the HR life cycle. And so we have all of those stages there. Again, your particular titling might be different, but all the way from HR planning and strategy to employee relations on the right. So the caption on the top, what parts of HR talent lifecycle should you in your organization focus on for better AI integration and improvement? So if you're thinking this and you're knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your HR talent lifecycle processes, where would you bet the money in terms of investment? What stages would you like to see enhanced using AI? HR planning, recruiting, administration, comp and benefits, learning and development, performance, career management, employee engagement, employee relations. Anybody?
Probably a little bit of everything.
Place multiple bets
Yeah.
There you go.
at the table. Anybody in Zoom land? Anybody have any identified areas within this life cycle map as to where you would want to increase your AI spend? Okay, so the next slide says if you use that and you have identified where you're good, where you're not so good at using AI, this represents features that you'd like to see improve perhaps. You could ask vendors, whether it's ADP or SAP or Cronus, to what extent do their applications involve AI capabilities, right? And I'm saying AI capabilities more than just, again, keyword searches on a resume, but informed intelligence, making predictions about who will be successful, who should we promote, how can we optimize our compensation data and our compensation resources and benefits. So that's something you can apply tomorrow, asking your vendors assuming you've made use of some technology, to what extent are they infused with AI capabilities? And then there's this link on here, 10-item questions to assess and evaluate your AI capabilities in HR technology. Okay.
Thank you. So this leads to, like, how do we start? If you've already done, but if you are looking to start the AI journey, like Mo said, it all starts with discovery. You have so many different process streams. What I would encourage is look at the process streams where you tend to get the most ROI and the benefit out. So first, identify that area and see what is the objective you want to achieve by using AI there. Once you have done that, look at the data that you have, the infrastructure that you have for the data, and make sure that the data is right to enable such kind of a journey as well. And then once you've done that, then you need to get together a team, which is not just technical people, but you need the business stakeholders coming in as well, the data scientists coming as well, or somebody to help you with your business to put together and define this, what it would look like, what the automation and intelligence will look like. Once that is done, you have so many tools. You might already have a vendor like Mo said, Workday, ADP, whatever you're using, that might be doing a subset of it. So what's the right tool stack? If it is more of image, whether it is more of text to speech, depending on that, you pick up the right technology stack using the team. You do a pilot. Once you do the pilot, you see and measure the results. There'll be some continuous refinement and optimization that needs to be done. Once you see the results that you're looking and you have achieved the objective, you can use the same and replicate to scale it out with all other processes that you have as well. But I would start with that, defining that process where you think you can get the biggest bang out of it, or free up the time or increase productivity.
The biggest pain point today.
Yes.
Sample AI tools for HR that you could look into after.
I have a question. I happen to work for a very small company. And, we have a payroll system. It's not really a sophisticated HRIS system. I'm feeling like, but tell me if I'm wrong, that to really get into this, you've got to have one of the more powerful HRIS systems. Do you disagree with that? Or on that slide before this one, you showed some other little tools. Maybe there are ways to piece some of this together. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Cobble things together, Barbara, and maybe avoid the heavy price of Kronos or SAP or Workday and so on. So there are people that can help you. Chirag, for example, might be available to help, be a voice across the table to help you to sort through how you might proceed on your next steps.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions here?
I just have a comment. A couple of points. So my name is Ben Carbone. I'm president of Modern Plastics in Shelton. We'll be 80 years in business next year. So 2 years ago, I made a personal commitment to study AI. And I'm finishing up a 6-month course with MIT that I'll graduate from. I have certificates from Microsoft and LinkedIn. Why am I telling you this? Because this year, I started to really implement AI to business. By December, I will have saved $750,000 at the company. Our sales are down about 5%, profits are up 30%. So when I've been able to cut that expense base, it's made a huge difference this year. I've improved employee productivity by 50%.
50.
I've taken away basically any mundane tasks, for example, that our sales force is doing, and they've been able to really create a maniacal focus on the customer. In terms of social media, I've been able to generate content, videos, pictures, have it automatically uploaded at a frequency I determine. Instead of visiting one customer, I'm reaching about 290,000 people in businesses like defense and aerospace and medical that we serve. So let me get back to the Gen Z. You were talking about students and our university is embracing that. I'm on several board of directors and business advisory councils for universities. And, they talk about enrollment, whether it's declining or not, talk about all these new courses they're bringing in, et cetera. So I make a comment about AI. I'm ignored. They don't even look
No
at me.
kidding.
They're pissed off. And I think they viewed it as a threat. And maybe rightfully so. I'm gonna give you 3 examples. We do internships at Modern Plastic. So about 3 years ago, I had a young man come in and, $40 an hour, profit share, learn the plastics business, you'll have a great career, et cetera. I hadn't heard from him in a while. He's doing a Quinnipiac. So I call him. He goes, yeah, you know what? Why don't we have lunch? A couple of things I want to talk to you about. So we had lunch. So I dropped out of Quinnipiac. I said, why? He said, well, I've embraced AI. I've created 3 apps. One of them is a dating app. He said, I'm making $1 million a month.
First things first,
And I said, bullshit. He had his bank account. Now, some months it might be $750,000, but on average, he's making $1 million a month. He's 24 years old. Okay, one of my daughter's girlfriends has created a faceless video on cooking classes. YouTube, TikTok, you know how you get paid when you have 1 million subscribers on each and you have subscription-based courses. She's making $1 million this year. My own daughter, who really kind of hates her job, $25 an hour. I told her early in the year, I said, you know what? If you kind of study this with AI and you kind of go down this path and you learn it, I'm not going to do it for you. I said, you might be able to do some wild things like, side gig. Well, it's not a side gig. She'll make more money than I will.
Taking over. Wow.
And she wants to move to Palm Beach and spend 2 or 3 hours a day hanging out and doing her thing and grow there. So those are the kind of examples that I'm talking about, because you're talking about Gen Z, they're not getting it. They're already got it. And, it's not like.
On their own.
On their own. And they're doing all kinds of stuff because AI can do it all. And what I will say to the people in this room, if you're just coming on board with AI, you ought to be having a lot of anxiety. You should be losing sleep at night. If you're not adapting it quickly into your business, if you feel it's a threat, you're wrong, because we talked about ways that this will increase productivity to give people a higher level view of the company strategies, okay? Take out the mundane tasks. Then you might want to get an anxiety pill from your doctor. And if your competition has already embraced it and you haven't, you probably shouldn't be sleeping at all at night. And it's nothing to fear, but you've got to get on board. You've got to get on board quickly, or you're going to be left in the dust. I'm telling you right now.
You make a great poster child.
No, I mean, you're living it. You're living it. I mean.
And thank you for sharing this. This is really helpful. The one thing I'll ask for, and again, thank you for sharing the information and those success stories. But for everybody's benefit here, right? What was your start? Like, how did you start implementing this within your?
Because we're owned by a larger company. It's about, I don't know, 10 or 12 billion dollars worldwide. And so I'm one of several business units. And North America has about 164. I'll give you an example. I'm active on LinkedIn. And when I make posts on LinkedIn, I get a lot of impressions. I get a lot of comments. I get a lot of shares, et cetera, on different business subjects. I made a post on LinkedIn, and you can go read it, about AI and how we're embracing it. I got 0. I got no comments. I got no likes, nothing. And you know why? Because so many companies either don't get it, don't understand it, they're not involved with it. 0.
Wow.
0. I have 19,000 followers. 0 comments.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing? In speaking to someone from who live in Asia, they're teaching AI from literally from pre-K, utilizing it in the right manner. So they're already teaching their kids AI. It's amazing.
I mean, to finish your question, why? I'm 62 years old, and I go to a forecast meeting every year. The shareholders are there, the owners are there, the CEOs, big table. I got to present my company in 30 minutes what we're doing. And the commitment I made to them, I'm going for the long haul. I'm gonna work into my 90s, right? I love what I do. And the commitment I made to them is I will never be caught behind the 8 ball on technology. You're not gonna see that happen with me. And that's my personal commitment. And what I'm doing, when I mention there, it's like 10% of how I'm using AI. And that's a small snippet.
Small, it's the 80-20 rule. You're investing 20% of your resources and time resources.
I can't tell you how much time I have freed up to concentrate on a high level.
Yeah.
Because I want to take my company from 40 million to 100 million.
Mhm.
And I have ways I can do it. It's analyzing my financial statements. It's saying, Bing, this particular line on your financial statement, you're kind of screwing up here, but if you did this, you could correct it. However, this is great. And if you can enhance this, and I'm going to give you a recommendation how to do that, you'll be really able to accelerate your business.
Can we take you on the road with us?
Yeah.
We'll plant you in the audience.
What form, what program were you, do you?
I'm using a variety, depends on the application. Like, for example, I don't know Excel.
Right.
You know, I mean, I guess a good example is, when I was in high school, I hated math. I sucked at it. Because you know why? When I got out of college, I have a calculator.
Right.
And now with this, these colleges, these universities they're trying to figure out what program can we use to detect if someone is using AI. Bullshit. That's the wrong thinking. That's the wrong thinking. And they ignore me. I get ignored.
So in my classes, I welcome it and I will ask you questions to understand your reasoning
Mhm.
so that I can detect just do the prompts and hit send without having thought through.
So get your anxiety filled lined up. That's all I can
Or
tell
jump on the train
That's amazing, Bing.
as quick as you
Thank
can.
you again, Vic. We have a question, Mo. Can we ask ChatGPT to create an offline de-identification tool to pre-process resumes we get? Then could we load de-identified resumes into ChatGPT to automate our candidate processes safely?
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
several steps in the process.
Correct. It's like I said, the parameters that you pass is up to us. We can create programs in Python and R where we can have de-identified resumes getting processed for those matching with the job descriptions. Get the results back and then re-identify them to say, okay, which one was candidates. So, Tom, to your question, yes, we can use it.
Thank you very much. This was very informative.